And we are back to talk about Rooster Fighter Episode 10, and I'm here with the one and only.
Cameron Thomas funny clips.
Oh yeah, that was quite a crazy episode. I just want to know how you kind of felt about it.
Honestly, I am pretty surprised of how this episode was actually adapting the content. Cause while how crazy how they adapted the content of the last episode where they did an entire volume but focused on one side plot and just cut off Kizuki and Elizabeth. We did get some scenes cut out with Kizuki and Elizabeth, which, to be honest, that kind of ruins the purpose of developing their bond together because I felt like when you have that starting up, it really starts to make the viewer wonder, oh, how does this love triangle actually start? Or love square as what it really is because of Pyoko. And really, it's really strange how they really did this part of the manga, really, but who cares? I will say they did show us a little bit of them destroying the demons, but most of it was like the last few panels of them working together, which I feel like is just a complete waste because it's like, why would you even show us that when you could have let the whole intro literally be them fighting demons? Like, you could cut some stuff out, but at least make it more dynamic a little bit more. But what they did with the devils, I will say, is pretty on point with the manga. I've always liked how these devils were like the big godlike creatures compared to the demons, and like they're a bigger threat. And I have heard some people give their theories that the white demon might be a devil, and I really do believe it could happen due to how it's the strongest demon. What if the twist is that it's a devil? But I actually really do like how they really did this devil with how they were making it very unique. And I will say the animation in this episode was like Mappa Studios type level of animation. It was just that good, especially the scene where he's shooting out the rockets with the eyeballs and it's chasing Kizuki and Kenji. That was just so perfect, smooth animation, like it was something out of Ninja Kamui or something like that. I honestly, when watching that, I was like, okay, they know how to do this. It's just in the matter of budget. And I actually don't mind this episode at all because while animation is top notch, the story in this one is actually really good because we actually see more of the dynamics, which I just really love about this show. It's one of my favorite parts of the show, probably, because these characters are not one note. These are like full edged characters that have so much depth to them. And I feel like when you have a cast like that, you obviously need to have good character dynamics along with it. And while they were doing that, we also got some cool action to go alongside it, which I think also adapted perfectly with this. Now, as far as adapting things go, this this whole thing was just so weird because they adapt like uh the stuff before. Then we have one whole chapter we focus on for a very long time. It is a lengthy chapter, so that's another thing. But because as the series goes on, the lengthier the chapters become, and I think they were kind of being like, how do we balance this out? and not make it where it feels like it's a filler show, but it also feels like it ain't dragging along. And while I will say they did a pretty good job, they focused a little too hard on one chapter in like the first half, and then the second half, we just get half of a chapter, which I think really hurts it that badly because it ends so abruptly because it ends at the middle of the next chapter they were trying to adapt, but they run out of episode length, so they can't really show it. And when that happens in anime, it just shows you that we are getting lengthy chapters in the manga now. We are now in the moment where lengthy chapters are now a thing, and you could see a 60 page chapter being adapted into an anime. And usually when that happens, you just need to just do one chapter per episode. I know that's annoying to people, especially to the One Piece fans, but honestly, I really feel like this 60-page chapter format really deserves it. If not, cut down a little more of the filler because while I did like uh, how this part is really, they really didn't make it flow perfectly as other episodes kind of did. And it almost felt like they wanted to go quicker, but they were also afraid of losing people's interest as well. And it's almost like they were trying to get to the point where, we're getting a whole episode of Pyoko again, but they can't because the next chapter involves KG and all the others fighting the devils. And I can see where this is problematic to people because I honestly can tell if people were watching the premiere of the last episode and it ended on that cliffhanger, people are obviously going to tune into the next one. They go to the next one, and then it barely shows Pyoko. And from my understanding, I have actually forgotten what this entity really is inside Pyoko or whatever, or her power. This really was a plot point that kept on getting forgotten about and then coming back again. Like it just wasn't fully adapted in the manga. Hopefully, it explains it better in the anime. But honestly, I just thought because there's no voice acting in the manga, I just thought this was just some extra cool second version of Pyoko or like a Super Saiyan 4 type. But really in the anime how they do it is that they give it a totally different voice, and I know in the manga panels they do use different text to show that it's a different voice, but I honestly just thought, how, but for instance, when uh Luffy transforms sometimes, his voice kind of changes. Like, for instance, Gear 2, he sounds a little more raspier because of the heat. Or how when Naruto transforms, he sounds more vicious and rage and everything. I felt like that was the thing that we were going for. But we just ended up but I just left more confused more than anything, mostly as a manga reader, because it just really wasn't really full out planned. Because this is the part of the manga where he is juggling different plot points. We have Pyoko wanting to become better in like the team. Then on top of that, you have Pyoko's big reveal of power. Then on top of that, you have Kenji and his whole and Kizuki not getting along. Then on top of that, you have the whole love relationships type thing. Like it's just so much at this point that once it was in the manga, I just kind of got overwhelmed as a manga reader. And usually, when that happens, I usually lose kind of interest in the manga, or sometimes I will read it, but I won't fully understand it. And that is kind of the downfall of what a manga does if it goes too much into juggling different types of arts and everything. And I'm not going to blame the anime for that. I'm not going to let it go down on my score. It's just, to me as a manga fan, the manga should have been more clearer than what it actually was. And I wonder if the staff was even the same way, where they were even confused and they were asking the creator, can you explain anything that has happened in this chapter right here in his vision? Because as we know, when we read something, we don't get the full vision. It's usually the writer's perspective that knows the full intentions. And, maybe they forgot to put something in it or something. But I will say this was a little more clear than what the manga did. So points for that, I will say. And, but it just really is really lagging in some moments. And I will say at this point, they could do anything pretty much, and I would just be surprised of what they do because I'm just so confused of what we're doing with adapting chapters now. Because we went from a decent structure, then we have that whole page shift where, when a manga reader really wants to put multiple pages in a chapter, and that really messed it up. And now they don't know what they're doing and adapting it. And so I will say, I think there needs to be a middle ground from the last episode and this episode because last episode, it felt like we were breezing through too much. Like how we were just fast forwarding almost, where I was watching the episode at two times the speed of what I was supposed to watch it as where this episode, it felt like I was doing zero point 0.5 times speed than the regular speed of the episode. And I really feel like we need to do a middle ground where we're not doing too much, but we're also not doing it too quickly. And if that means that we have to cut a couple of content here and there, that's fine because most animes do that anyway. But I only want it if it's necessary. But at the same time, I will say uh, what they did do correctly is that they did give like a good classic episode of Rooster Fighter. I was it is pretty much written the same as the others. It's just the pacing that was the problem for me. And the adapting structure that we have because we can have animes that adapt material very well and you're not lost at all where you don't have to read the manga to understand it because it's pretty much perfect as it is. And then there's others that, well, you if you didn't understand the anime, you might as well just read the manga at that point. And I really feel like we are probably going to get a middle ground near the end of this series. This is just them trying to figure out what's throwing whatever stats at the wall pretty much as it is. But overall, I think it is a really good episode.
Um, on that note, do you think maybe they're just trying to stretch material that way they can push a arc season or just a second season and then do a big wait for more material to come?
Honestly, I'm starting to think that they are afraid of going to where the training arc happens. But even then, we have so much content. I think what they're trying to do is trying to let it there. eventually be like 11 episode season or like a 8 episode season or something, and then maybe when like that training arc finally ends, they finally adapt it once more chapters come in. But the only problem with it is that we really have seen them do better with like slow material. Let's not forget how episode 4 did their thing, where as a bad chapter as it was in the manga, they made it a very enjoyable episode. And I was kind of hoping if we could do that in like these later episodes. And really, these later chapters, uh, sometimes he doesn't really fully explain things clearly that I can understand it. And I really thought the anime would do a better job at explaining it. But even at times, it just leaves me more questions than answers. So who knows at what we're gonna get at this point? Uh, I am hoping we do at least get like a happy ending at the end of the season, because if we don't ever get a season 2, like what ended up happening with Zom 100, where it became super popular, but due to them making the Apothecary Diaries, they have no time for Zom 100, even though they have plenty of chapters to adapt. They really don't know what to do because the Pocket Diaries is just so popular. I could see that happening with this studio and them not touching it until like let's say 10 years or so, which I think, to my opinion, I think that would be a horrible decision due to how popular this manga is compared to these others. But I do think that we could see it in like 5 to 6 years or something like that if chapters are slowing down as they are right now. Mostly, I think they're slowing down mostly because the creator is pretty much doing the marketing himself with Viz Media, where he's trying to get this series to be very popular. That he's doing more marketing than Viz Media does with most of their dubs. To be honest with you, because that is the one problem I do have with Viz Media is that they don't market their dubs like they should. Like, for instance, so Snowball Earth, fantastic anime. It's not being that marketed. Kill Blue, that's another one that is airing right now. And it's also really good. And it's not getting anything. Mao is another one, which is made by the same creator of Rama One and a Half, another really popular manga, and they're not doing a thing with it, not even giving it an English show, which I think is a big missed opportunity. I just really think the creator is so like nervous that his series will not be like a fully adapted like some of these manga, because I can see, because I know the guy really loves anime as a whole, and he has really been wanting his series to become one of the big series that become classics, and that's pretty much what every manga writer really wants. They make these manga to hopefully become good series on like whatever studio wants to buy it, and they hope it becomes fully adapted because they like to see their work made by fully animated and everything. It's just so cool and everything because you're seeing a whole another view of the story. And I really feel like he is even doubtful that this will get a season 2, which honestly, I think if, and on top of that, Toonami can do so much because of how much money they spend on getting these anime. And on top of that, Hulu and Disney Plus do barely anything with their stuff. So I really hope at some point we do see a consistency and hopefully announcement But if it doesn't, I won't be surprised at all because I have seen what this industry has done with multiple series before. And it's just what has happened nowadays. They're just trying to find the next big series that could rival the big three. And really, they can't really seem to find that right now. So hopefully the last two episodes, because from what it is, found out recently, this series is actually getting 12 full episodes. We're not getting 13. We are not getting any of that. We're just going to end it on 12. So my guess is that the next two episodes will either, well, honestly, now thinking about it, now this has got me worried. This might be very fumbled very badly because the demon that is shown at the very end of the episode, that is like the final boss pretty much that they have to fight uh while Pyoko is fighting with Pops and everything. And that makes me worried. What if we just ended up making next episode kind of half the fight with him, and then the last episode being the ending of that fight, and then like a big epic ending to the season. I could really see them dragging that out, which hopefully they don't do. I hate it when anime really do that because it really makes it not feel all that special. Like we obviously see that you're running out of content and you're really trying not to go overboard, but you've gone overboard. And it's really, it's gotten me on the edge really quickly, but hopefully this series can end on like a good high note. I'm just really hoping for that.
Yeah, I think strategically, most series they try to get to the second season. That way, the momentum of the hype doesn't die down. And I feel like this may be an instance. Now, the thing is, I don't know if Toonami is going to be able to air the second season due to My Adventures as Superman and, the list goes on. I don't think it'll be that fast either. It could be winter time before they even get it either. So, it's really a time and tell thing. You can kind of see it too.
Yeah, and on top of that, with it being owned by Visme and not even owned by Adult Swim, that's another problem that comes in. And on top of that, is the streaming rights go to Hulu and Disney Plus, which is another bad sign of them probably having a hard time getting the series. But I'm hoping for the best, I will say. Hopefully, this isn't killed off by Disney. Honestly, how I would have pretty much done this now looking at it, just do what Don did, where it was the first season was supposed to be 24 episodes, and then they decided that they wanted to give us perfect animation and perfect pacing, that they cut the episodes in half, where the first half was before Evil Eye, and the second season was supposed to be the second half of the first season, and it was supposed to adapt the Evil Eye type stuff. And honestly, I think that would have been cool to see because then we wouldn't have a pacing issue, but we also wouldn't have let's say, a really bad animations issue as much, I think, because I think if they went that route, you would kind of have to not do the CGI type route. Honestly, I do like the CGI type route, to be honest with you. But I do think we could have gotten some consistency if we did it that way. But that was more of a happy accident type thing. But that's just my personal what I think the route should go type business because we see things like Sakamoto Days and Donadan of how they took two cores and split them up, and yet the pacing was just perfect and consistent throughout the series. As with this one, it was messy and sloppy, with some episodes having faster pace and other ones just being very, very slow.
Yeah, I mean, seems a bit unsure. The series does at least. I do think it's going to have somewhat of a conclusion. At this point, it really seems like they do need the training arc so far from the way that it looks like it's going to go down. They're badly beat at this point, and KG's going to have to pull it out, I guess, in the next episode, it looked like. There's a lot to
That did
chew on.
not fit good in the context, buddy.
Oh, well, it looks like
Pull
he
it out.
he's got to clutch up for the team. He's gonna be the one on deck. Yeah, I was watching last night. I'm like, man, whenever they were talking to, it was like KG's dad telling him about the gizzard thing. It's like Super Saiyan gizzard mode. I'm like, that has got to be Dragon Ball right there.
I mean, technically, it is a Dragon Ball reference of how he said fold three, fold times four, fold times 10 at the end. That was kind of more like the Kaioken that Goku has at the beginning of Dragon Ball Z, where he says Kaioken times 10, and then he does a Kamehameha with it.
I thought it was sick. I mean, it was a good episode, and going back to the Pyoka thing, even I was confused. I'm like, wait, so like an entity took over Pyoka's body? It gave me like flashbacks of Jujutsu Kaisen with Gato. How there's like the entity that took him over. I'm like, what is
Yeah.
it with that? That's so confusing. And then they just leave it off. Like, is Pyoko just now going to be fighting everyone for no reason? It just
Yeah, it for some reason the guy he puts things on pause when he has so much to do. He puts things on pause and then he puts others in front of it. And it's almost like you should just focus on one thing at a time. I'm mostly thinking he had a vision and so many ideas, and he just couldn't wait to do them all, and he just threw them all together. I can actually see that actually happening because most of us just get overboard with ideas when we try to create something to where we want to do all of it at once, and usually it does not turn out the way we want it. And I honestly think he is learning a little bit better because with the training arc, I will say he did a little bit better with it because he focuses on a character per like um 2 to 4 chapters pretty much, and because he splits them all up with a different trainer, and they train for about like 2 to 4 chapters, and then we go see another character, and it just really works best because it's the same thing. It's consistent, but with this one, but with this, it's really we're juggling too much, and it's getting too oversaturated to the point where your brain kind of just wants to turn off at one point.
yeah. I thought it was a good episode, and it does seem somewhat like the writer was learning as he went, and it's slowly starting to become more and more of something. We're starting to get things a little better. We got to learn about how the demons are given those like little leeches things and they get picked. The ones that are chosen become like the
Mhm.
devils. That was pretty cool power system and everything starts to make sense. And we got to see the giant devil, the big mean one that is apparently the son of the other one. A lot of lore there, but yeah, he gets blown up, and that was pretty cool how KG went inside of his like little arm gun, made it blow up. What I'm getting at, thought it was a good episode. Really short though, if you put it all on paper.
Honestly, I will say, animation wise, best action this episode. I will say, best action in this whole series, possibly for probably this entire season, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, we still don't know because 2 more episodes. What they're gonna do with 2 episodes. I know the next one, it's gotta be pretty decent. Last one, I mean, you gotta go all out. You just got to. If you can't get a second season fast, you gotta make it a banger where people are like, Oh man, I can't wait for Rooster Fighter. But it sounds like at least the training stuff, they'll be able to do an entire season, just stretch it really hard if they wanted to.
Yeah. I mean, if Naruto can do it, pretty much anyone can do it. I mean, we've seen the big three do it, and they do it for so long to the point where, you kind of want to get to the fight, but you also want to be interested of how they push themselves further.
Yeah, and like another aspect, it's also sort of like a shonen, even though it's not the typical shonen, because they like train and
Yeah.
get stronger.
I, this one is actually supposed to be a seinen or what, however you say it. It's the more mature rating is what it is. That as shonen is supposed to be for teenagers, this one is supposed to be more for the adults, is what it is.
I
So
can see it. Yeah, I can see that.
yeah, I mean we got two chickens clucking at the first episode. So
Hey man, I mean like, you know how Family Guy is for anyone now. They used to do stuff like
that's
that.
true.
So it's
That's
like,
true.
and in Japan, it's just weird over there too. Like their rating system, it doesn't make as much sense because some of that stuff is really violent, especially back in the day.
Yeah. And like there was like no censorship back then. Like
Oh yeah, most definitely.
you turn on any movie that was R rated and it was going to be the uncut type stuff.
They got some pretty wild movies in Japan, like even crazier than America. Uh,
Yeah.
are you ready?
Yeah.
What would you rate this episode?
I would rate this episode a 8.9. This really wasn't as bad as the fourth episode, I will say, but the animation really carried this episode, which I think was very needed for something like this because of how slow the pacing was. You did get some decent animation out of it. So while your brain was kind of turning off a little bit, your eyes were still wide open watching it and you didn't just fall asleep to it.
I rate this episode an 8.7. It certainly has some obstacles to still go over top of. It's not terrible. Like I've seen terrible animes, but it's
Yeah.
still building. It's still building, and it can always build on from there. But I've been a bit surprised by Rooster Fighter. It wasn't what I originally thought, but it was much better now.
I will say for a creator's first series to ever be made from a manga, he actually does a really good job with it.
Oh yeah, because you could see his struggles, like you're talking about his writing, and I think he's slowly starting to understand things, and he cares. He does care about the series a lot. You get to see it with like the like the art content at the very end of episodes. He does like the little videos like you showed me. He's really good at what he does, marketing wise.
Yeah. I think it's very interesting how he is willing to work at Vismia, putting on a chicken mask and just saying questions for shorts for Vismia just for promotion. I just think that is just amazing of what he just does. He is just that passionate of his work. And I can respect, even if your Mia is bad, I can respect you if you even take pride in your own work. And I really think this guy really does take full pride in his work and he really thinks he is trying to carve his version of a masterpiece, but it might not be a masterpiece to all. But it is perfect for most people that can get a good laugh at every now and then.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that we get more of that comedy back. I feel like it's left a little bit, and I get it. You want to be serious. You don't want it to be thought out as like this pure comedy and kind of trick your audience into it. So I get it. I've just been kind of leaving out that part. If it had more of that and they're able to mix it a bit more, I mean, it might be rated pretty far up, but I can't blame Toonami. They're just bringing it to their channel. I don't think. I mean, it's Viz, so is what it is on that part.
Yeah, exactly.
Got anything to say on the closers?
I will say, next episode will definitely be a interesting one because, as we know, the devil they're fighting has blades coming out of his wherever he wants to, and it will be a challenge. He is more challenging than the last devil, and hopefully we see more of Pyoko trying to save Pops and everything, because I really think that should be more explained in the next episode, or at least the last episode at least. But hopefully we do see I do think the next episode is just going to be just as action packed as the last episode.
So we go from guns to blades, or what is it, rocket launchers? Whatever you call them. Explosives to knives and blades. Yeah, pretty crazy stuff. And maybe Pyoko comes out here going super, whatever you want to call it, actually. You can call it any ability because it's pretty much anything that takes up your body. Uh, yeah, I guess we're gonna close it out here. We want to know what you guys' thoughts are on Rooster Fighter episode 10. Hope you guys stay safe. Until next time, peace out, guys.
Peace out, guys.